That was Planting in the Sun. Let's break it down. So for this second etude, the first thing that we need to figure out is how on earth do we play this ridiculously, annoyingly syncopated rhythm at the beginning of the piece. And I promise you, it's not as bad as it looks. The first thing we need to understand is the two different rhythmic values, two different types of notes that we're using here at the beginning. We have quarter notes and quarter rests, and we have eighth notes and eighth rests. Now with our current time signature, we're in 4/4. That top number 4 means we're going to have 4 beats per measure, or in other words, we're going to count to 4 over and over and over and over and over again. The bottom number 4 means that a quarter note gets 1 beat. If you're kind of sitting there thinking, well, duh, quarter note always gets 1 beat, only if the bottom number is a 4. So luckily for today, it is. So our quarter notes are going to get 1 full beat. Same with our quarter rests, but 1 beat of silence. Our eighth notes are going to each individually get half of a beat. Same goes for our eighth rests. So if we count something with just quarter notes, we would count 1, 2, 3, 4. If we keep that same tempo, but we switch to playing eighth notes, we're going to have twice as many notes. It's going to feel like we're going twice as fast, but really, it's not about speed. It's that the notes are twice as short. So, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. When we count eighth notes, we count 1 for the ones that are on the beat, 2, 3, 4. And then we count the and for the one that's in between the beats. So if I play that same thing again, but I add in the counting for the eighth notes, it'll sound like this. 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Really good exercise to do to make sure that you understand subdivisions or notes that are less than 1 beat is to go back and forth between the different kinds of rhythmic values, especially with a metronome. So here's what I mean. You could practice this while counting out loud. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. You can even mix it up and only count quarter notes or only count eighth notes, but play both patterns. So I'll switch back and forth. I'll do quarter notes only first for the counting, and then I'll switch to counting eighth notes even when I'm playing quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So, good exercises to do there. Do them with a metronome. Can't do that during the video. Now, when we put this into the actual piece, you'll notice that in the first 4 lines, we've got this rhythmic pattern with a lot of stems up and then a lot of stems down as well. We're going to approach this by looking at just the stems up first and then just the stems down rhythm, and then we'll put them together. So on the first measure, we've got a quarter rest, then we've got a stems up quarter note, an eighth rest, a stems up quarter note, and another eighth rest. That first quarter note is going to get all of beat 1. The second quarter note is going to get all of beat 2. The eighth rest is where things get tricky. On that eighth rest, we're only going to have the first half of beat 3. This means that the quarter note that comes in next is coming in on the second half of beat 3. So it would be rest on 3, quarter note on the and of 3. Because it's a quarter note though, it doesn't stop when beat 3 finishes. It has to continue ringing through the first half of beat 4 as well. Then we'll have an eighth rest at the end of beat 4. So If I just play this on, we'll say an open first string, the rhythm would be 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's play this rhythm together. First measure, stems up and rests only. 1 and 2 and 3. Right there. Okay, visitors. Sometimes when you try and record a tutorial video, you have to take a little break and give some dog scritches. So yeah, Ringo is here to say hi, and we'll probably have some puppies popping in and out of the video from here on out. There's only so much I can do to keep them happy. So we're going to try and play that first measure together with the stems up only rhythm. Okay. So I'll count us in using our eighth notes, and I'm just going to play it on the first string open. We don't really care about notes or technique here. We just care about Ringo getting his pets, and we care about having the right rhythm here. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. When we get to the second measure, we are going to have an eighth rest on the first half of beat 1, which means our quarter note is going to come in on the second half of beat 1. And then, just like we had in the last measure, it needs to continue ringing through the first half of beat 2, followed by an eighth rest to finish off beat 2. On beat 3, we go back to having nice, simple, unsyncopated rhythm, quarter note on beat 3, quarter rest on beat 4. So our rhythm for beat 2, and play again just on an open first string. Is that okay, Ringo? All right. I really tried not to have them in the video today, but they said no. Silly me. All right, measure 2. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now, we're going to put those two measures together here. Just again, stems up in our rests. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. All right. When there's Ringo bumping the mic. All right, this video's chaos already. I'm just going to embrace it. So, let's look at the bass notes now, looking at just the bottom stems going down with those rests. We've got a quarter note on beat 1, quarter rest on beat 2, eighth note for the first half of beat 3, quarter rest for the second half of beat 3, beginning of beat 4, and then an eighth note at the second half of beat 4 that has this weird little line connecting it to another eighth note on beat 1 of the next measure. That weird little line that almost looks like a smiley face between the two note heads is called a tie. Whenever you see that, if it's upside down or if it's the other way, it'll look like a rainbow. If it's this way, it looks a little bit like a smiley face or a jump rope. Whenever you see that line, called a tie, connecting two notes that are the same, it's telling you to play the first note and then let it keep ringing through whatever the rhythmic duration is of the second note. So in this case, we're going to pluck it on the and of 4 and let it continue ringing for the first half of beat 1. So let's try just this first measure. We'll play to open E, which just so happens to be the actual note. All right. 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Now, in our second measure here, we have that eighth note that's tied into beat 1, which means the quarter rest is going to come in on the and of beat 1 and continue into the first half of beat 2. Then we've got an eighth note on the second half of beat 2, followed by beat 3 quarter rest, beat 4 quarter note. So since this one's got a tie at the beginning of it, we're going to go ahead and play both of these measures together from the beginning of it to make it a little bit easier. So measures 1 and 2, just our bass notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Weird. This is going to start to sound more natural once we put the two rhythms together. So if we're thinking about this as almost a duet, our thumb is going to play all of the stem down notes. I, M, and A are going to play all of the stem up notes together. So let's go ahead and set up our thumb on the 6th string. We'll put I on the 4th string, M on the 3rd string, and A on the 2nd string. So we're going to slow this drastically down and play both of these measures together. Open strings, no left hand, not even worried about that. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. All right, that's our rhythm. We're going to pause that for a moment, and we are going to move into the planting. So in the tutorial video I did for planting in a storm, Etude number 1, I talk a bit more about what planting is, how to do it, and kind of break down the basics of that. We're going to skip over that for this video, so if you need a little bit of a introduction to the basics, go check out that video. For this one here, we're going to move straight into doing some boom chucks. So boom chucks are affectionately named by my first teacher, Joey Eichner, or at least I believe he's the one who named them. He's the one who passed the name on to me. And what we do in these is we pluck our thumb, then we pluck our fingers, and as we pluck our fingers, we work on planting our thumb. Then when we pluck our thumb, we end up planting our fingers. So we're going to go back and forth between these. Our boom, our thumb, then our chuck, our fingers. You can see that after I pluck a finger, I am not letting it move out of that position until the next fingers, or finger, have to pluck. So these are not relaxing out like this and kind of cheating the planting. That's not going to help you work on these really fast motions that we need for successful planting. So once you've got just the basic boom chucks down like that, we're going to add in a speed burst. Now a speed burst is where you put in a little bit of a sprint, but a sprint implies that it's for a short duration. So speed burst is not, that's way too long, okay? We're going to do 2 quarter notes followed by 4 eighth notes. So our rhythm will be 1, 2, 3, and 4, and. Okay, it'll look like this. 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3 and 4 and, etc. Okay, a little break to pet a puppy. Is that really necessary? What do I know? Of course it's necessary. And of course she wants to be off camera, not on camera. Yeah. Thank you. What are you doing? She also brought me a toy, if you were wondering. This is her pow. Not quite a pig, not quite a cow. It's a pow. Here you go. You don't want it back? You just want scratches. Okay. When we've got that pretty good, or at least semi-comfortable, we can start adding in the notes and the rhythms from the actual piece here. Now, you may be wondering, why on earth did this crazy lady put in so many rests in the rhythm? Why not just make these notes longer durations? Well, I'm really glad you asked, because there is a reason other than, to torture your brain. Those rests are going to help us know when to plant our fingers. If you look at Oh my goodness. Hello. Okay. I'll just talk through this. I won't even use, wow, I'm getting swarmed with dogs. You would think they've never received love in their life. I promise you they have. They had a walk before this. They had cuddles before this. They even had popcorn before this. Wasn't enough. All right, so if we talk through this planting with the notes and rhythms and the rests, whenever we pluck our thumb, that should trigger I, M, and A to plant. So whenever the thumb is playing, there's going to be a rest above it because that's where the fingers should be planting. Vice versa, we've got whenever we pluck I, M, and A, our thumb is going to plant. So underneath, anytime we've got those stems up, I, M, and A notes, our thumb is going to be resting, okay? So every time you'll see that it's kind of going back and forth between the two like a seesaw. So when we put it together, what's it going to sound like, Karma and Ringo? Let's show them. Back up, Ringo. Okay, we'll just sit there instead because why would we want Mom's camera angles to be set up properly? Who would want that? All right, here's the first two measures with the rhythm. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So I'm going to do that again. I'm going to do it slower. Okay. Thank you, Ringo. All right. So I'm going to do that again, and I'm going to do it slower here. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. One more time, but I'll speed it up. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. One more time, but I'll speed it up. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. All right. In the third and fourth measure, we're going to change up the note that our thumb is playing. We're going to move it from the 6th string to the 5th string. And in our left hand, we're going to keep our second finger down on the 4th string E. Don't have to lift it or move it or adjust it at all. But our first finger, which was on the 3rd string for G sharp, we're going to move to the 2nd string to get the note C. When we begin this third measure, good news, it's the same as measure 1 for the rhythm. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. When we go to measure 4, though, we're going to have to change things up. So in measure 4, we still have that 8th note tied across the bar line from the and of 4 to beat 1. We still have the quarter note coming in on the and of 2. Then we still have the 8th note coming in the bass after that, but you'll notice 2 things. One, that 8th note is tied to a half note, so we're not supposed to plant when we pluck I, M, and A this time. Crazy. That bass note needs to keep ringing. If we plant, the bass note will stop ringing. The second thing you'll notice is that on beat 3, our 4th finger goes to D on string 2 on the 3rd fret. We change our chords a little bit here. After that note, we're going to have an 8th rest. So once we've plucked this, we want to plant I, M, and A again on the same strings to prepare them for the next pluck and cut it off so it stops ringing. So beat 3, 4 is going to sound like this. 3 and switch to the C, 4 and. So again, without a pause in the middle, 3 and 4 and. Now, if we add in this bass beforehand, it'll sound like this. And 3 and 4 and. Notice that bass kept ringing the whole time. So let's do measures 3 and 4 back to back. Ready, play. 1 and 2 Same thing, but slower. Ready, play. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. All right, ready to hear the whole line? Let's do it together. We'll go crazy slow, then we'll go kind of medium, and then I'll show you what it'll sound like full speed. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 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 3 and 4 and. All right, medium. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Fast. 1, 2, 3, 4. You'll notice as you go faster, it starts to groove. The ultimate goal here is not to have to count every single rhythmic value. The ultimate goal is to understand and feel the rhythm so innately that you don't have to count it all. You're just feeling it. However, most of us can't get to that point with more complicated rhythms unless we break it down first and go through the arduous task of counting out every single subdivision. And I highly suggest counting it out loud and with a metronome, hint, hint. Now we're going to have the same pattern in line 2 and similar patterns in line 3 and line 4. One thing I highly recommend doing to help transition between the lines more easily is chart out, and in fact you can even write in the score at the end of each line, what is the first bass note of the next line. So for instance, end of line 1, we get through. If I look ahead to the beginning of line 2, I see that my next bass note is the 6th string E. The reason that this will be helpful to have a mental or physical note of is because when we pluck that last I am an A on beat 4 of the line, we need to start planting to prepare for the next note, just like we've been doing all through line 1. The only difference here is we have to think ahead to line 2. So what I suggest is practicing a bunch of and end by checking to see, okay, yep, I've got my thumb on string 6, I've got all of these up here in my hand, I'm good to go. If you do that a bunch, when you try and play the lines back to back, you'll notice it goes pretty quickly, pretty smoothly. The exception to the string 6 planting is going to happen when you go from line 3 to line 4. Instead of planting on string 6, we're going to plant on string 5 because the next note is the 5th string open A. So that would look like this. And then we end up with that thumb ready and our fingers up here. That gives us the core chunk intro part of the song. Once we move past that, it gets into the part where we're a little bit more lyrical, a little bit more melody focused instead of kind of jamming. On this part here, we're going to start to use a little bit of I-am alternation. Whenever we end up playing more advanced pieces or more advanced melodies, we want to make sure that we aren't just plucking everything with the same finger over and over again, because when we do that, we're going to be pretty slow. There's a speed cap that we're going to hit, and we're going to hit it pretty quickly. Right, Ringo? He says right. He says always make sure you alternate I and M. So for this here, we're going to start off with the melody with the notes A, then open B, then C. With the right hand, we're going to pluck that I, M, and then we're going to have to string cross, meaning we're going to have to move our index finger from string 3 to string 2. So again, I, M, I. The next thing we have is this diagonal line connecting the note C to the note F. The reason that we have that line there is because we are going to play a glissando, or a gliss, or a slide. They're all the same thing. Instead of playing this F on the first string, first fret, we're going to play the exact same note on string 2, fret 6. So when we go from this C to this F, we're going to shift up on the same string. Now, to make it a glissando, though, we're going to keep pressure down the entire time that we move our hand up here. And it's going to create a sound almost like a singer scooping a note as we go up. So kind of like this. If you've played a glissando before, that's probably not going to be that hard. If you haven't, though, there's no time like the present. What I'd like you to try is to start on this first fret C and do a glissando, but just go somewhere randomly high on the guitar. It doesn't really matter where you stop. It'll sound like this. Okay? You can try it slower, making sure that you've got pressure down the whole time. If you notice that it stops partway through, it means that you're relaxed and you're no longer squeezing the string. Once you've got a pretty good sound coming out of the glissando, not caring where you end up, then start looking ahead at that 6th fret. So before you pluck this note, have your eyes glued, metaphorically, figuratively, not literally, to fret 6. That is how we're going to increase our chance of getting there accurately. You can do a glissando or a shift without looking ahead. So, however, it's a gamble. Just like if you're playing basketball, if you're doing a no-look pass to a teammate, you can do that if you're pretty good. It's still a gamble, though. Okay. All right, so if we go back to the beginning of this line, measure 17, we're going to start off with this open bass note A. It's a whole note now, and we're just going to let it ring through that whole measure. When we reach this F, we are going to pluck M and P on the 4th string at the same time. So it'll sound like this. Once we've done that, we're going to keep this first finger down so that that note F continues ringing through the whole measure. Then we're going to add our 2nd finger to string 3, fret 7 to get the note D. Once we've added that, we're going to start to rotate I and P back and forth. This will be like our boom chucks, but with a little bit of a change. We're only going back and forth between these 2 fingers, and our thumb is going to skip around between different bass notes. So it'll be, if I start on beat 2, it'll be I, then plant P on the 5th string. When I pluck P, I'm going to plant I on the 3rd string. When I pluck I, I'm going to plant P on the 4th string. I'll pluck P, plant I, pluck I, plant P on the 5th string, pluck that 5th string by itself, plant it again really quickly, and pluck it, and then plant your I finger and tell Karma, wow, what a wonderful unicorn Pegasus. Well, it was a unicorn at one point. The horn has been destroyed. Thank you so much, Karma. I think that really adds to the experience here. Again, they were walked, they were fed, they were loved, all before this started. Wasn't enough. All right, so if I play through that line starting at measure 17, it'll sound like this. 3 and 4 and. All right, I'm going to do that again, but I'm going to count out loud this time. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 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 3 and 4 and. Now you'll notice when I finish that, I finished with my I finger planted on the third string. That was intentional. The reason for that is the next line starts with our I finger on that third string, but no glissando this time, and we just go to an open E. These patterns are going to continue throughout the next several lines. One little change will be on measure 29. We're actually going to start with our M finger and go M, I, M, I. So that way we can have our M finger on the second string for an MP alteration. Just like I said with Etude number 1, when you get to the end of this and you feel confident in your notes, you feel confident in your rhythm, you feel confident in your technique, make it music. I've got suggested dynamics in here, suggested color changes in here, crescendos, decrescendos. You can follow them or you can make it your own and do something else. I promise I won't care. In fact, I probably won't even find out. If you have any questions, feel free to leave me a comment below. I'd be happy to help you. And hopefully we'll get a third tutorial video up and there will be either less dogs or just better behaved dogs. No promises though.